Hi there, I'm the Myth Keeper. Welcome back to my channel, the best place on the internet for Pathfinder lore and history. In this video, we're doing my second to last Tian Xia region deep dive. Believe it or not, we've slowly made our way through Tian Xia as well. In this particular video, I'm going to look at the Huan Peninsula, which includes Bachuan and Hwanggot. And we're also going to look at the Minata archipelago, which is a huge stretch of land, which covers a diverse array of cultures that are all kind of sea-based and seafaring. All three of these are interesting in different nations, and I think there's some rich and fun character concepts that can be drawn from any of these nations. In any case, hope you enjoyed the video. In this week's region deep dive, we're going back to Tian Xia, and we're looking at the Huan Peninsula, which stretches from the eastern border of Poli up towards the Sea of Zidao and Naikang Bay, and the vast archipelago of Minata, which stretches from the southernmost points of Valish Raj at the lowest point of the continent all the way up to almost reaching Minkai in the north. The Huan Peninsula comprises two major nations, Bachuan and Hwanggot, which each have a particular and unique cultural heritage, while the Minatan archipelago actually comprises hundreds of independent island nation-states, which form a kind of loose political confederation of sorts. This week's history section will be brief, as for much of their history these countries were considered wild places in the realms of Tian Xia, and in many of these areas there is a poor historical record. Their history therefore appears shorter than most other nations, and we can quickly move to a deeper look of each of the constituent countries. However, just briefly, the history of the Huan Peninsula and the Minatan archipelago. Despite the fact that Minata is considered a wild and unruly land today, the first great human empire of Tian Xia was called Taumata, a Tian contemporary of ancient Aslant of unsurpassed magnificence in its time, and it was located here in these islands. The empire of Taumata covered not just the archipelago of Minata at the time, but stretched all the way to Sarasan in the south, and even encroached into the southern tip of Minkai in the north. It rose to power during what the Tian people called the Age of Dragons, that preceded the Earthfall Cataclysm and the Age of Ashes. In this age, while Shizuru was still grieving the death of her lover, the moon god Tsukiyo, the dragons of ancient Tian Xia turned violent. War ravaged the land, and the promised peace that she said humanity would bring did not appear to be coming. One particularly violent draconic conflict to impact this region occurred between Lehulan, a radiant lunar dragon, and her 7 sisters, and Mugayan, a capricious sea dragon with 100 siblings of her own. The conflict between these two soon awakened Baku, a serpentine kaiju of unimaginable size who had been sleeping beneath Minata since the Age of Monsters. Lehulan and Mugayan could only watch as Baku rose from the depths, swallowing dragons like krill and uncoiling his body with a force that shattered mountains and churned the sea like a mortar and pestle. Then, in the midst of all this brutality, towards the end of the Age of Dragons, events on the other side of the world would change Galarian forever. In a scheme hatched by the deep-dwelling Algolthu to destroy the human empire of Aslant, a meteorite was directed to strike at the heart of the world. The Age of Dragons was ended with an apocalyptic bang, just as the Age of Legends was ended in the Inner Sea. Despite all this, vestiges of the Empire of Taumata might have survived, if they had not consolidated their people to the Shibobekas Islands, which were then destroyed when the volcano at Mount Shibotas exploded, raining fire and ash onto an already beleaguered people. It would take thousands of years for new cultures to emerge on the archipelago. Meanwhile, among the people of the Huan Peninsula, the first real references to this land in recorded history occur around the year 444 of the imperial calendar, around the time of the Battle of the Bloodsworn, in which the imperial capital of Yixing came under siege by an army of Klipoths. According to the lore, when the attack occurred, Emperor Aolin was visiting a new city built in the Zezan Crags, and he had to fly west to liberate the city. The city is unnamed, but it would be reasonable to assume this location would serve as the foundations of the modern city of Baifen, in the lands that would come to be known as Bachuan. This is as far east as the empire of Yixing would spread for 2,500 years, because the Tian Shu people believed the Tian Huang people of the Huang Peninsula to be lawless barbarians, too temperamental to civilize and too warlike to bother conquering. The Tian Huang people enter Shu history once again, not long after Minkai began to spread its growing influence northwards, with the completion of the Spirit Road in 2970, connecting their lands to the Khanate of Hongao. Resentful of the growing power of Minkai, in 3089, merchants from the Empire of Yixing began to move east of the Zhejiang Crags, constructing a city close to the mouth of the Zhongdao River. This would eventually become the modern port of Peijia, and through it, they hoped to control trade with the aquatic peoples of the Zidao Sea. These Shu merchant princes would hold this land for 2,000 years, but they'd never conquer the southern half of the peninsula from the Tianhuan tribes, who fiercely protected their borders from northern invaders. Finally, the Yixing Empire collapsed in 5580. It was only after the collapse of the Yixing Empire that a powerful warrior would begin to unite the Tianhuan tribes and establish a new emergent culture in the Huan Peninsula. The people of the region that lived south of the Zhongdao River formed the nation of Hwanggot in 5589. The nation's founders were said to have studied the Empire of Yixing, its strengths, weaknesses, and the causes of its eventual collapse, wishing to learn from them in the establishment of their own kingdom. Meanwhile, the mercantile factions that helped spread Yixing into the northern Huang Peninsula eventually integrated with the local Tianhuan tribes in the north, and although the exact timing of this is unclear, this would eventually become the land known as Bachuan. Bachuan and Hwanggot would remain unconquered by the Empire of Shu, which rose to power in central Tian Xia and lasted from 5601 to 6536. Effectively, these two nations had forged individual identities for themselves from the collapse of Yixing in 5580 all the way to well into the first 200 years of the Empire of Lunghua, which succeeded the Empire of Shu, a period lasting about 1,220 years. That independence period came to an end when Lunghua's imperialist ambitions finally made it turn its attention to the Tianhuan kingdoms in the east. First, Lunghua conquered Bachuan in the year 6802, which they proceeded to rename Penhua. 2 years later, they were able to conquer Hwanggot as well. They would remain occupied provinces in the broader Lunghua Empire for 300 years, until in 7106, prophecy died, and the Empire of Lunghua collapsed. Hwanggot quickly re-established itself, focused on reclaiming the culture, heritage, and traditions they had held for 1,200 years prior to the 300-year-long occupation period. For Penhua, that cultural identity was harder to find. They had not formed as cohesive a people, and they were more broadly settled by the Shu people than Hwanggot had been. In fact, Penhua would continue to face a struggle for identity, until the Bachuan Revolution of 7126, restoring Penhua's original name of Bachuan. The revolution had been organized by Grandfather Pei, a scholar from a peasant background, who began spreading a philosophy that preached for equal treatment of all humanoids and demanded that prosperity be shared equally among all citizens. The Pei philosophy would also come to be alternately known as communism. Though Grandfather Pei intended to bring a new era of peace and prosperity to Bachuan, the Pei philosophy proved much harder to implement than planned. The strict philosophy opposed religion and the private ownership of property and enforced state control over the production and distribution of wealth. Meanwhile, in the almost 10,000 years since the Earthfall cataclysm, various cultures and civilizations had risen and fallen from power in the islands of Minata. By the Age of Lost Omens, 3 discernible political regions emerged in the islands: the northern stretch called Atas Pulu, the central stretch called Tenga Pulu, and the southern stretch called Renga Pulu. In more recent current events, in 7210, 15 years ago now, Grandfather Pei died in Bachuan. His widow, Pu Ye Men, now known as Grandmother Pei, struggled to keep the country together. Bachuan was on the verge of collapse. Their farms no longer yielded enough crops to feed the nation, and refugees streamed across the borders faster than the guards could track. The Sun Chamber found its coffers all but empty, unable to provide basic infrastructure or essential defenses against monster threats. In 7215, an oracle from Poli arrived in Bachuan. See my recent Southern Successor States region deep dive for more details on Poli and its culture, as well as the power wielded by the nation's prophetic oracles. Her name was Shui Jing. With quiet wit and sharp diplomacy, the Tianshu woman won the trust of the Pei family and brokered a fragile peace among their fractured factions. Under her guidance, they enacted sweeping reforms. These pragmatic reforms, ending ideological enforcement, dividing governance among factions, and opening some of Bachuan's doors in a controlled way to private investors, sparked a rapid and chaotic revitalization, with wealth and migration flooding back into the battered republic. In 7218, Queen Hyun Suk, who had ruled Hwanggot for over 50 years, passed away at the age of 85. She had already been in the process of ceding control of the kingdom's defenses to her eldest daughter and heir, Princess Hyun-gyeon-ji. Princess Gyeon-ji had already been the subject of some controversy in the Kingdom of Flowers for her more militant outlook and her desire to really strengthen Hwanggot's military strength. She has ordered the erection of a network of mammoth stone fortresses along the Jeongdao River, the border her country shares with the nearby rapidly changing nation of Bachuan. Finally, in 7219, Haojin, the Ruby Phoenix, returned to Galarian. In the next few years, she would emerge as one of Bachuan's most influential investors, taking advantage of Shui Jing's reforms to secure a lease on a vast stretch of the Zhejiang Crags. She gifted this rugged territory to the displaced Tapestry people, former inhabitants of her demiplane. Originally, Haojin had sought to reintegrate these displaced people to Po Li, lands that geographically had been their original homeland, but these people quickly grew disillusioned with Po Li's rigid religious rule and longed for a new homeland, where they could more easily nurture and maintain the new culture that had emerged during their time in the demiplane. According to rumor, Haojin's selection of the Crags was no accident. It is said she brokered a deal with a powerful dragon in this region, securing its protection to ensure the Tapestry people's safety. This broadly captures a history of these three lands. Now let's take a deeper look at each of them in turn. Bachuan. Bachuan is a nation that has been shaped by revolution, ruin, and reluctant rebirth. Founded as a Yixing city-state in 3089, it grew into a critical trade hub during the Shu period, linking the inland provinces with far-flung regions like Minkai, Minata, and Zidao. Yet its prosperity also made it a target. Lunghua spent centuries wearing away its autonomy, finally seizing it in 6802 and exploiting its riches until the people were left hollowed out and desperate. Out of this suffering rose Grandfather Pei, a farmer turned revolutionary who threw off Lunghua's remnants and re-established the Republic of Bachuan in 7126. However, Pei's vision of a utopian, communal society soon unraveled into a nightmare of endless purges and re-education camps, leaving scars that would haunt the nation for generations. After Grandfather Pei's death, his young widow, Grandmother Pei, inherited both his mantle and his flawed ideals. Having been indoctrinated herself, Grandmother Pei ruled with blind optimism, fueling fanatical devotion to Pei philosophy even as the Republic crumbled under its own contradictions. By 7210, Bachuan was teetering on the brink, starving, divided, and rotting from within. The government fractured into rival factions, its economy collapsed, and rumors of Grandmother Pei's failing health swirled like vultures over a carcass. The nation's salvation came not with armies or revolutions, but with the arrival of an enigmatic oracle named Shui Jing. She enacted three sweeping reforms. First, she abolished the preaching of the Pei philosophy and its mandatory enforcement. Second, Bachuan, excluding its capital, would be divided into 6 municipalities, each governed by one of the major factions. And third, the nation's tax and property laws would be rewritten to encourage private land ownership and lure foreign investment, with minimal taxation on profits for the next 10 years. These reforms are slowly but surely transforming Bachuan. Bachuan's geography is as dramatic as its history. Its coastline stretches along the Sea of Ghosts, Benshu Bay and Naikang Bay, each shore boasting wildly different landscapes. Humid, mossy western beaches that shimmer with phantom ships, salt marshes and mangroves up north, and glittering sandy beaches ground from seashells into a powder so fine it is prized by spellcasters across Tian Xia. Inland, the Zhejiang Crags arise into jagged hills rich with gemstones, but also with hidden dangers, from sudden mudslides to roaming oni rumored to rally under an ancient underworld dragon. Meanwhile, the lowlands and grasslands pulse with life, nurtured by Bachuan's long, dependable rainy season, a natural rhythm so reliable it has been meticulously recorded for centuries in the nation's treasured Bachuan Wind Guide. Today, Bachuan stands at a crossroads. Old wounds fester beneath new wealth, and ancient forces, both political and supernatural, stir beneath the surface. Yet for all its chaos and contradictions, Bachuan has proven itself a nation of survivors, capable of reinventing itself again and again. Whether the Republic's newest chapter will be a golden age or yet another tragedy remains uncertain. But one thing is clear. In Bachuan, change is the only constant. The culture of Bachuan. Bachuan's culture today is a careful weave of lingering uniformity and a resurging spirit of individuality. Clothing still follows the basic cut, standardized during the Pei regime, unisex beige flax garments with loose sleeves and pant legs. But now private artisans embellish these humble designs with colorful dyes, embroidery, and new fabrics. Short hair remains common across genders, a practical relic of the past, though young people increasingly break with tradition, using hairstyles and accessories as a quiet form of rebellion. Similarly, architecture across Bachuan still leans towards austere functionality, simple clay walls, cross-shaped windows, and bamboo furniture, but wealthier municipalities have begun to experiment with color, garden space, and ornamentation, signaling a slow return to personal expression. Despite its utilitarian image, Bachuan's cuisine offers a vivid counterpoint, vibrant, fiery, and inventive. Spicy condiments are ubiquitous, helping the body cope with the heat and the humidity, while fish forms the protein staple of most meals. Shellfish remains a rare delicacy, a leftover taboo from the days when luxury foods were forbidden. Alcohol is likewise scarce, with tea, especially cooling herbal brews like licorice grass and bitter melon, serving as the favored social drink. Meanwhile, education remains a source of deep mistrust as memories of ideological indoctrination still haunt older generations. In rural areas especially, most children are taught by family or local elders, and the specific challenge of training in the arcane arts, as mages were once demonized by Pei dogma, continues to strain Bachuan's emerging school systems. Culturally, Bachuan's calendar remains rigidly structured, with frequent work cycles, yet the easing of government control has allowed traditional festivals to return. Formerly, national holidays centered around Grandfather Pei's ideals, but today older rites, like the pacification of the watery ghosts, are celebrated once more alongside revived worship of deities such as Heifeng, Kofusachi, and Qizhong. Although municipalities often forego expensive official ceremonies, the people have reclaimed these holidays for themselves, blending the remembrance of hardship with a cautious but growing hope for the future. But of course the most significant shift in Bachuan's cultural landscape, especially in the regions near the Zhejiang Crags, has been the arrival of a large population of Tian Xia migrants from the Haojin Tapestry. Known collectively as the Tapestry people, these migrants originally hailed from what is now Poli, but were displaced into the magical tapestry thousands of years ago, during the height of the Lunghua Empire. Isolated for centuries, they developed a vibrant, distinct culture, which they have brought back into the world, and into Bachuan, with energy and pride. Colorful dress, intricate storytelling, and communal traditions now spill into towns and markets once ruled by strict uniformity. Among the Tapestry people, festivals and rites of passage are central to daily life. Coming-of-age ceremonies require youth born in the same year to work together to complete a great challenge, with success granting rights to wear specific clothing, jewelry, tattoos, or even symbolic scars. Harvest festivals, particularly those celebrating grains, are sacred times when communities brew spirits for rituals and thanksgiving. Flower festivals, by contrast, offer a quieter joy, honoring the simple beauty of blooms through food, drink, public art, and performance. Ancestral worship, a tradition the Tapestry people share with old Bachuan, remains deeply important. In fact, the Bachuan holiday, now called Undertaker's Day, grew from similar roots. At first, Bachuan citizens, conditioned under Pei philosophy to value austerity, mistook the lively, colorful celebrations of the Tapestry people for indulgence. Over time, however, they have come to understand the underlying discipline, that one must work when it is time to work, but celebrate with full heart and soul when it is time to rejoice. For Bachuan natives, becoming familiar with the Tapestry people remains a gradual, ongoing process. Their diversity is astounding, often blending multiple Tian Xia cultures into one. Tribal and ethnic distinctions among the Tapestry people are most clearly seen in the color palettes and weaving patterns of their clothing, and in the adornments made from tree seeds, feathers, bone, and fang. Their diets reflect their ancestral ways, some favoring foraging, others farming, and their customs of hospitality include the offering of food freely and greeting others with heartfelt inquiry. Because material resources were scarce within the Tapestry, most of their arts are intangible: song, dance, theater, and community performances, emphasizing harmony, group participation, and an engaged audience. As these lively traditions intermingle with Bachuan's own recovering identity, they offer a new model of resilience and community for a nation still finding its footing. The government of Bachuan. The government of Bachuan is a fragile and shifting construct, attempting to balance the old authority of the Sun Chamber with the new, often chaotic realities of having power pushed to the municipal level. Technically, Grandmother Pei leads the nation, as she is the head of the Sun Chamber, and the symbolic heir to Grandfather Pei's philosophies. However, her influence is mostly ceremonial. Official documents requiring her signature are discreetly ferried between the Sun Chamber Council building and the isolated Pei estate in Paijia, returning signed within days. Whether these signatures are genuine or forged remains a matter of rumor and debate. Whispers claim that a woman resembling Grandmother Pei was seen boarding a ship to Lin Var, allegedly seeking retirement in a monastery in distant Ziha. The Sun Chamber has refused to address these rumors, preferring silence to controversy. Additionally, the Oracle reformer Shui Jing has also taken her leave from the country only a few years ago, so it's entirely possible that now there is no executive government in Bachuan at all, and that it is secretly entirely governed by the 6 faction leaders, or general secretaries, each of which rules one of Bachuan's major municipal provinces. While the capital roils with scandal, the outlying municipalities have been focused on practical challenges, implementing reforms, restoring trust, and dismantling old oppressive structures. This has given rise to so-called revolutionary leaders who wield political power but have no official ties to the government. The Tapestry people, meanwhile, maintain their own leadership structure. The 7 Tongues Elders, representing the 7 largest linguistic and cultural groups among the Tapestry migrants, guide their people with wisdom and patience. Key leaders in Bachuan therefore include Grandmother Pei. Technically the supreme leader of Bachuan, Grandmother Pei is the head of the Sun Chamber, the seat of power in the capital of Paijia. As mentioned, following major reforms 10 years ago, she is now largely a symbolic head of state, with 6 general secretaries now dividing power among themselves. There is also a persistent rumor that she has in fact left the country, as she has not been seen in public for some time. Others suspect she may be merely ailing in health, as she is quite old now. Shui Jing. Formerly a key advisor to Grandmother Pei, this enigmatic oracle came from Po Li and helped curtail some of the damage being done through strict adherence to the Pei philosophy by proposing sweeping reforms. However, she has recently disappeared just as tensions have returned, leading many to debate her purpose in the nation. Some see her as a prophet, others as a fraud, and some suspect the truth could be stranger still. Despite her absence, her legacy lingers in Bachuan's new decentralized government structure. The General Secretaries. A key recent reform was to elevate municipal power and correspondingly reduce executive power in the nation. 6 General Secretaries now wield authority over the country. Only one of the 6 General Secretaries is named in the source material so far. That is General Secretary Pei Wei-yi, who is a completely unique and bizarre figure in the country. Once a cunning political player who worked in the Sun Chamber even before the reforms, Wei-yi's elevation to the position of General Secretary appeared to end abruptly when she experienced a sudden death by overdose. However, death would prove to not be the end for Wei-yi. Thanks to her ruthless ambition, her soul remained bound to the material universe, and she arose as a ghost. Despite being undead, she has not stepped down, and she continues to be a faction leader. Furthermore, as a ghost, she has most recently unleashed scandalous confessions about the Pei family's brutal history, secrets which have served to ignite protests across Paijia. It's unclear what Secretary Wei-yi's endgame is here, but her actions have fueled the growth of new revolutionary factions across the country. Revolutionary leaders. There may only be 6 general secretaries, but there are dozens of emerging revolutionary groups claiming power wherever there is a vacuum. The most significant of these is a catfolk revolutionary leader named Suokasu. Frustrated by the slow pace of reform, Suokasu led her group to take decisive action, liberating political prisoners, shutting down re-education facilities, and dismantling labor camps. In just 3 years, the Tigers accomplished what the Sun Chamber had failed to do, earning them the admiration of the local population as heroes. With their newfound influence, Suokasu has now turned the Tigers' attention to Bachuan's escalating monster problem. Despite their success, Suokasu acknowledges the group's inexperience in handling such threats and hopes to establish connections with the Firebrands organization, a broad-reaching alliance of such groups with origins in the Inner Sea region, for guidance on dealing with the growing danger. The 7 Tongues Elders. A council of the oldest leaders among the Tapestry people, each representing one of the 7 major linguistic groups. This group forms the traditional leadership structure of the Tapestry people's community. They guide their people's diplomatic ventures and future, preserving history and debating whether to seek out their ancestral homelands. None of the currently active members of the Elder Council are named in the Tian Xia source material. However, 2 heirs to the Elder Council have been named. A young kobold blacksmith named Tonebu Ikipamumu, and the leader of a troupe of musicians that travels across Bachuan named Iyun. Like many other heirs, Tonebu and Iyun have spent many years preparing to become worthy leaders, but with membership in Elder Council being reserved for the eldest of their respective lines, it may be decades before they hold official positions. Nevertheless, these two have proved influential. Tonebu prepares volunteers to explore the various ancestral lands that the Tapestry people hailed from, while Iyun, in her work as the matron of the Story Singers performance troupe, is forging new bonds between the Tapestry people and the native Bachuanese communities. The Bachuan Gazetteer. Paijia. The meticulously planned capital of Bachuan, Paijia has long been a city of great potential, though it has never fully realized this. Many of its once-abandoned buildings have become havens for urban monsters, magically resistant plants, and opportunistic squatters. While the recent surge in business has revitalized some areas, certain parts still face unexpected challenges. In the southern dock warehouse district, for example, a sea drake named Ilyssus has taken residence with a tribe of Grindylows. According to Ilyssus, they purchased the land years ago and have been paying property taxes ever since. However, the Paijia City Hall is now attempting to evict them to raise the rent on the warehouse. The case is currently headed to court, with Ilyssus facing difficulty finding a lawyer to represent their unusual claim, despite having a strong legal documentation on their side. The 10,000 Summer Palace. This former Lunghwa winter palace has been left abandoned, shrouded in magical wards, and thought impenetrable, until Hao Jin and 5 companions arrive with a chest containing 6 of the 12 lost bronze zodiac statuettes. After 2 tense hours inside, they emerged, but kept quiet about what they had found. Rumors have since started to swirl that the palace harbored a direct heir to the Lunghwa imperial throne, who had prolonged their life by entering temporal stasis for all but 1 day of the year. Whatever they found inside, they are now seeking the remaining lost zodiac statuettes. Bounties for the remaining 6 statues have flooded Tian Xia, with wealthy collectors, eager wizards, and ambitious politicians all vying for the pieces. Baifen, the Tapestry Town. Built over the ruins of a much older settlement, Baifen is a hillside community that has served as central hub for the Tapestry people since they emigrated to Bachuan. Designed as a gathering place for both community events and the Seven-Tongue Elders, Baifen quickly gained popularity among travelers and locals alike. Its hot spring bathhouses, vibrant night markets, and lively public theater performances, ranging from traditional operas and puppetry to acrobatics, magic shows, and comedy, draw crowds year-round. The town's unique blend of cultural traditions and entertainment has also attracted historians and adventurers from across Tian Xia, all hoping to uncover ancient dialects, lost legends, or historical secrets hidden within Baifen's walls. Hwanggot. Bordering Bachuan and Poli, the Kingdom of Hwanggot is a small but resilient nation that remained an independent Tianhuan kingdom from both the empires of Yixing and Shu, before ultimately suffering 300 years of occupation at the hands of conquerors from Imperial Lunghwa. Yet it has weathered this challenge with grace and quiet strength. Though its natural wealth and coastal access make it a tempting prize for conquerors, it is Hwanggot's patience, not its swords, that have shielded it through the collapse of Imperial Lunghwa. Emerging from the ashes of empire, Hwanggot today is a nation that beams with pride beneath serene skies and between soaring ancient mountains. Its cities hum with life, its markets are rich with fruit, pottery, and laughter, and its coastal towns thrive on the bounty of the sea. While visitors marvel at the open arms and generous hearts of the Tianhuan people, they often miss the quiet steel underneath, a nation that knows precisely when to bow and when to strike, hiding the heart of a tiger beneath a placid smile. Hwanggot remains famously careful in its diplomacy, weaving agreements like silk, ever wary of entangling alliances that might one day demand blood. In Hwanggot, nature and tradition are never far apart. Its mist-wrapped forests and towering peaks are places of reverence, where ancient trees remember the footsteps of dragons and spirits walk freely between the worlds. The capital, Haesong, mirrors this balance, a grand, sprawling city with buildings shaped to embrace the mountain winds, where artistry and craftsmanship are woven into the texture of the buildings. Throughout the countryside, rural communities thrive in close harmony with the land, whether farming the fertile valleys, fishing along the coasts, or practicing ancient crafts whispered down through generations. Life in Hwanggot follows the rhythm of the seasons, which are more pronounced here than they are in more northern Bachuan. Harsh winters test the patience and preparations of its people, while jubilant springs bring wild bursts of color and renewal. Summers, heavy with rain, which people here believe are called down by the imugi, serpent-like creatures with a strong connection to the imperial dragons, nourish the crops that fill communal storehouses for the long cold to come. In autumn, as the harvests are gathered in the local goblin culture, the Dokaibi throw their wild celebrations, the Tianhuan people honor the spirits that have watched over them through yet another year. Underscoring it all lies a living memory of a people who chose endurance over pride, community over conquest, and in doing so built a kingdom that endures, rooted deeper than even the oldest tree. The culture of Hwanggot. The Tianhuan people are known for the fierce fire that burns within them, a spirit that manifests both in their passionate hearts and their determined actions. Whether meddling affectionately in a neighbor's affairs or rallying together during lean seasons, Tianhuan communities are tightly woven webs of mutual care and loyalty, where one success is measured by the well-being of all. The national dress, broadly referred to as the henbok, varies between social classes and regions, with commoners favoring durable undyed cotton and nobles arrayed in brilliant silks embroidered with lotus blossoms, cranes, and tigers. Symbols of authority and dignity, such as the translucent black gat worn by court officials, carry strict significance, and violations of dress codes are not always taken lightly. Though Hwanggot is today renowned for its diplomacy, its peaceful exterior belies a proud military history. In times past, its survival was secured not by conquest, but by tenacious defense, particularly by archers, whose skill with the bow became legendary. High-quality ore was a rare prize, and so the forging of swords was a sacred act, reserved for decorated heroes. Tigers have always held an exalted place in Tianhuan culture, revered as primal forces that once rivaled the might of dragons. The image of a tiger sinking its fangs into a dragon's neck endures as a potent symbol of defiance and unshakable spirit. This fierce respect for the earthbound and the enduring finds its way even into Hwanggot's everyday life, including many of their cultural mainstays, such as the iconic fermented dishes of kimchi and the sturdy ongi clay jars crafted by the region's ubiquitous dokaibi. Time is an almost sacred concept to the Tianhuan, measured not in minutes but more slowly, in seasons and generations. Ceremonies honoring the dead, such as the ghost feasts where food is shared with ancestral spirits, remind the living that they are part of an unbroken thread stretching forward and back. The Huan New Year is a particularly vibrant expression of this philosophy. 3 days of ancestral rites, lively games, soaring kites, and the sharing of sliced rice cake soup, symbolizing gold coins and future fortune. During this time, the entire nation slows to honor the past, rejoice in the present, and welcome the future, a timeless cycle that has sustained Hwanggot through every storm it has ever faced. The government of Hwanggot. Hwanggot is a monarchy, traditionally matriarchal and led by a queen, supported by a scholarly noble class known as the Yangban. Though the queen makes decisions when the rest of the government is at loggerheads, in truth most real governance is shared across a complex, highly organized bureaucracy. This bureaucracy is divided into 3 main departments: the Chancellery, the Central Secretariat, and the Department of State Affairs, which manage the drafting of policy, administration, and day-to-day affairs through 6 ministries. While citizens of any class may technically enter government service through difficult literary exams, in practice the aristocratic Yangban dominate the ranks. Additionally, in the countryside, rural communities maintain a high degree of autonomy, balancing strong traditions of local self-rule born from centuries of hardship and resistance with the royal decrees coming from the nation's major political power centers. Additionally, in these rural communities, the influence of powerful spirits can't be underestimated as well. Important figures include Queen Hyun Gyunji. The reigning queen of Hwanggot is a fierce advocate for restoring the nation's military prowess. A master archer and a passionate leader, for some in the country she has stirred admiration and national pride. For others, there is an anxiety associated with pushing for stronger borders, as it has heightened tensions with Bachuan. As discussed in my brief history section, she has erected a line of new fortresses along the river border. She has also pioneered the development of a new fleet of iron ships, impressive new technology for the region. Some of these ships have even made their way around the southern tip of Tian Xia and been spotted in Goka, where it is said they have been sold to certain mercantile interests there. Some whisper that Goka's infamous and criminal Golden League have had a hand in brokering these new trade agreements. In any case, her focus on patriotism and martial readiness stands in sharp contrast to her mother's own approach to international diplomacy. The Taljay. Not a government figure, but a legendary spirit, or possibly monster, known throughout Hwanggot. The Taljay is an entity of great power and mystery, known for its strange dance and ever-changing form. It appears as a large, lithe figure clad in a flowing cloak of white and red tassels and crowned by wooden masks. Accounts of the Taljay vary wildly. Some witnesses describe it as humanoid, others as a centipede-like creature, but all agree that it moves with an unsettling, erratic rhythm that seems to echo the heartbeat of those who watch it. Taljay wears 3 masks at a time, each reflecting different human emotions or archetypes, such as the general, the hermit, the beast, and the nobleman. These masks grant it different abilities and personalities, which it can change rapidly during combat or while interacting with mortals. It is said looking into its masks can forcibly evoke deep-buried memories tied to that emotion, often overwhelming the viewer. Sometimes worshipped as a god or as a collection of gods, Taljay is both feared and revered. Offerings of rice, gold, and buckwheat jelly are left in mountain caves in its honor, and entire festivals are dedicated to dancing in imitation of its movement to keep its mercurial moods in balance. The Taljay is rarely found near cities, preferring the rural villages, where it can be both a destroyer and a mysterious benefactor. Villages it visits often suffer physical devastation, yet experience miraculous abundance in food supplies afterwards. The spirit's origins are uncertain. Some say it was born from the collective emotions of Hwanggot's people. Others claim it is the legacy of an ancient mask carver whose creation gained sentience. Some have even whispered that the Taljay came from the moon to learn about mortal life. Regardless, Taljay's masks seem tied to the major events and people of Hwanggot's history, marking heroes and villains alike through its ever-shifting forms. Legends tell that the Taljay has sometimes granted its sacred masks to mortals, bestowing immense power upon them, but at a terrible, mysterious cost. Community leader Yi Jinwu. The respected leader of the Tianhuan communities in the Qianglao jungle, Yi Jinwu is a fairly good and indicative example of how local community leadership works in Hwanggot. Yi Jinwu works collaboratively with the central government, but he holds no formal government office, yet his influence over the jungle communities is immense. Yi Jinwu is known for his strength, endurance, and connection to the sacred spirit Taljay. Jinwu is often called upon to calm the Taljay when its presence becomes dangerous. Ogaram. The master of Haesong's prestigious pottery guild, Ogaram oversees both the artistic and logistical operations of the guild. They are deeply respected for their skill and administrative prowess, maintaining close ties with the Dakaibi artisans of Hwanggot. Now approaching retirement, they are preoccupied with the difficult decision of choosing their successor. The Hwanggot Gazetteer. Haesong. The bustling capital of Hwanggot lies near the nation's coast, a vibrant city fueled by trade and cultural exchange. Its streets are a constant symphony of sound, chatter, music, the clinking of pottery, and the excitement only grows louder as the day progresses. Haesong is famous for its thriving inns, artisan workshops, and lively political scene. Thanks to generous cultural investment, it boasts one of the most diverse and celebrated art scenes in all of Tian Xia. Artists and craftspeople often seek the aid of adventurers for acquiring rare materials or ensuring the safe transport of valuable works. The capital of Haesong is also the home to some significant individuals in the lore. 10 years ago, Amara entrusted veteran field agent Yi Da-som, a Samsaran scholar, with the task of compiling copies of all books recovered by Pathfinder teams in Tian Xia for distribution across Galarian's lodges. Settling in Haesong Hwanggot, Da-som swiftly assembled a team of Pathfinders to carry out Amara's mission. Under her leadership, the Hwanggot branch of the Lantern Lodge has become one of the most popular destinations for Pathfinders in Tian Xia. Meanwhile, a foreign merchant from Minkai named Tsukimi has made Haesong her base of operations. Tsukimi operates from a tucked-away shop filled with strange incense and curiosities. Her origins and true intentions are shrouded in mystery, and rumors abound that she is entangled in the city's underground struggles over performance permits. Despite the discretion she takes in her work, she is of growing infamy, and her network of contacts suggests she is far more influential than she appears. Meicho. Nestled near the mountains, Meicho offers a slower pace of life compared to the hectic energy of the capital. The city's most famous attraction is the multitude of natural hot springs, long celebrated for their supposed healing properties. The people of Meicho are known for their kindness, quiet resilience, and diligent craftsmanship. However, the nearby mountains bring a darker side as well, with frequent disturbances from restless spirits, malevolent ghosts, and wayward supernatural creatures. Yongmen Bog. Deep within Hwanggot's sacred mountain lies Yongmen Bog.
Few humans have ever visited this secluded village, but dokebi from far and wide journey here to reconnect with their kin. The homes are humble, built from earth, stone, and wood with roofs of straw and clay. Everywhere, massive ongi fermentation jars cluster around homes and fields, containing foods aged far beyond typical human tastes. Once a year, Yongmanbog bursts into wild celebration during its famous festival, where visitors compete in legendary kimchi-eating contests that few outsiders can stomach. One ancient dokebi living in the depths of Yongmanbog is Chanhi, famed for forging blades capable of banishing evil spirits. Though she rarely ventures beyond her secluded home, her legendary works have drawn warriors from across Tian Xia. Chanhi prefers solitude and crafts only for those who can prove themselves worthy and bring her valuable rare materials. Minata. The wandering isles of Minata form a sprawling archipelago of over 100 islands, each with its own unique culture, dialect, and secrets. Rich with volcanic mountains, dense jungles, and perilous reefs, Minata is often described as a land with as many faces as it has islands, a paradise to some, a fortress to others. During the Age of Dragons, Minata became the battleground for a feud between sky and sea. The radiant lunar dragon Lihulan and her 7 sisters clashed with the playful but numerous sea dragon Mugayan and his 100 siblings. Their war, however, awakened Baku the Moon Eater, a colossal kaiju whose violent rising shattered mountains and churned the seas. Throughout history, kingdoms have coveted Minata's hidden wealth, its veins of precious metals, and ruins of unimaginable value, but none have succeeded in claiming them. The mighty Teikoku shogunate of Minkai famously attempted to conquer the isles only to have their fleets smashed against unseen reefs and their survivors hunted by fierce nature spirits and warrior kings. Defeated and humbled, the shogunate declared Minata unconquerable, and no empire has dared to challenge the Wandering Isles since. Minata enjoys a consistently warm and humid tropical climate throughout the year, with alternating wet and dry seasons shaped by the summer monsoons. Frequent heavy rains are common across most islands, while temperatures remain high even during winter months. The yearly dry seasons create a familiar rhythm of sowing and harvest, celebrated with lively festivals across the archipelago. While Minatans observe many traditional Tian Xia holidays, the islands also boast unique local celebrations tied to their distinct cycles of land and sea. Despite comprising thousands of islands, the people of Minata traditionally divide the archipelago into 3 major regions, each with its own distinct character and history. Atas Pulu forms the northern reaches of Minata. Once a single landmass before the catastrophic eruption of Mount Shibutai, also called Mount Duyan, the mountains here are unmistakable, with centuries-old rice terraces carved into their slopes. Among the important islands here are the Shibobekas, or the Magasintahan, a pair of islands said to be the lovers Tiago and Sambak, transformed into mountains by the spirits to preserve their forbidden love, their passion forever burning within the volcanic heart of Shibutai. Tengapulu, the central region, is the proud home of some of Galarian's finest seafarers. Its vast jungles blaze with vibrant wildlife, and its mountains tower above the sea like ancient sentinels. The largest island, Belem, is famed for its hidden coves, sheer cliffs, and a fortified city along its western coast. The mysterious hammer-shaped island of Bukarang lies nearby, once thought to shelter only Wayangs, but now known to also harbor secretive Sarangai and Menanangal communities. Rendapulu in the south claims many of Minata's largest islands, and boasts the densest jungles and sprawling wetlands of the archipelago. Hidden deep within are the ruins of the ancient Taumata Empire, especially on the islands of Lakapuna and Olakapuna, where descendants of the Taumatan people fiercely guard their ancestral heritage. Tales persist that these clans possess powerful magic and forbidden knowledge, Minata's most precious and closely kept secrets. The people and culture of Minata. While many of the kingdoms we have discussed so far in Tian Xia have a predominantly human population, Minata is a land of extraordinary diversity, home to humans, Iruxi, bull-headed Sarangay, and some other slightly rarer peoples such as Wayangs, Leshis, barrow goblins, tusk cyclopes, and bat-winged descendants of the Tangal. Rather than a single government, the Wandering Isles are ruled by a patchwork of independent clans and kingdoms, whose leaders bear titles like Datu, Lakan, Ari, and Ariki. In this decentralized society, reputation is everything. Great deeds, skilled craftsmanship, and acts of heroism bring prestige and form the basis of alliances and trade. Minata's artisanry is renowned across Tian Xia. with prized exports like volcanic clay pottery, rice, silk, gold, and pearls. Each major clan is guided not only by a political leader, but also by a powerful shaman, who serves as a healer, spiritual guide, and sorcerer. The shaman's role is vital to the community, overseeing rituals from birth to death. Among the most celebrated figures in Minatan history is Tadana Anitera, a transgender shaman who forged legends in both magic and prophecy. Her enduring legacy has ensured that intersex and transgender children are seen as blessings throughout the Isles, raised with honor and offered paths of apprenticeship and leadership. Although there are hundreds of such clans, the four most important clans in Minata include the Ilutakami. The Ilutakami clans are the heart of Atas Pulu, once thriving in the mountainous region surrounding Mount Shibutai. Their ancestors shaped the landscape by carving intricate rice terraces into the volcanic slopes, taking full advantage of the fertile soil. Today, the Ilutakami are a driving force in Minata's foreign trade, with their success largely attributed to the wise leadership of the Komite, their governing council. The Ilutakami culture is marked by vibrant woven garments adorned with detailed beadwork and gold jewelry, with even the poorest members donning gold as a sign of their heritage. Their men typically keep their hair short, though they occasionally vow to leave it uncut until they accomplish a significant feat. Tattooing is also a deeply ingrained tradition, with members marked by geometric designs that reflect their achievements. The Ilutakami are also known for chewing a specific tree nut, which stains their teeth black, a practice so common that white teeth are considered a sign of youth and inexperience. The Marangalan. The Marangalan clan represents the largest and most powerful political alliance in Minata, with a presence spanning the rivers, lowlands, and coasts of both Atas Pulu and Tenggapulu. Famous for their shipbuilding expertise and naval prowess, the Marangalan people are renowned for their towering outrigger warships used in sea raids. They were key players in resisting the Teikoku shogunate's invasion, and their warriors are celebrated for wielding massive single-edged greatswords rather than the usual shields or spears. Marangalan culture emphasizes long hair, worn regardless of gender with meticulous grooming, and forehead wraps being particularly common among the men. Brightly colored fabrics are favored, often styled as open jackets or robes. They also sport intricate necklaces and armlets crafted from gold, sometimes embedded with precious stones. Marangalan tattoos are distinctive, usually covering arms, legs, or encircling the wrists, marked by complex geometric patterns that denote their status or history. The Nisama. The Nisama are a nomadic seafaring people who live in houseboats off the coast of Rendapulu and parts of Tenggapulu. These floating homes typically house single families, traveling together in flotillas of related houseboats. Larger Nisama communities consist of several flotillas that gather in specific locations throughout the year. Their clans are often named after the areas they roam, such as the Nisama of the southern shores, or the Nisama of the Valashmai Sea. Nisama clothing is light and practical for life at sea, designed to protect from the sun while offering full coverage. Head wraps and turbans are common, often extending over the shoulders. Their fabrics are dyed using wax-resistant techniques, creating striking patterns that serve multiple purposes, indicating clan affiliation, communicating with other vessels, or even sending messages via tied strips placed on buoys. They are also known for a sunblock paste made from rice and turmeric, which is highly valued by sailors. The Taunui. The Taunui are the descendants of the Taumata Empire, with many clans in Rendapulu tracing their lineage back to this ancient civilization. Once nomadic, they now live in fortified villages, committed to guarding the sacred Taumatan ruins scattered across the region. These sacred sites are fiercely protected, and the Taunui are often wary of strangers, making them reluctant to engage in trade or political alliance. The Taunui people are known for their striking hairstyles, often involving intricate topknots and braids. Their garments are understated in color, but beautifully patterned through plaiting and weft twining techniques. Elaborate cloaks made from fine flax fibers and decorated with animal skins, furs, and feathers are reserved for the highest-ranking members. Additionally, Taunui individuals often sport elaborate face tattoos, featuring curved or spiral patterns that symbolize their personal life journeys, marking key milestones and achievements. The Government of Minata. Minata operates under a decentralized system of governance, where there is no singular centralized authority. Instead, each clan or nation governs its own territory, with the clan head making decisions on matters such as defense, trade, and political alliances. While some clans follow a hereditary system of leadership, succession is typically determined by the merit of the leader. Leaders are expected to earn the support of their people, and if a ruler proves unfit, they may be deposed. Political alliances are often formed between equally influential clans, though imbalances in power may lead to the smaller clan becoming a vassal to the larger one. Travelers who visit Minata must tread carefully, as paying attention to one clan while neglecting others can result in resentment and lasting political consequence. Some important figures in the region include Clan liege Ariki Heihinari, the firstborn son of the revered Ariki Tewari, who once united the Taunui clans. Heihinari ascended to the throne after his father's death. However, his leadership is widely questioned, as Heihinari is seen as a reckless youth with a penchant for indulging in trivial pursuits, such as dancing, smoking tobacco, and gambling with his friends. His lack of maturity has led many to doubt his ability to lead his people effectively. Pirinihi Kahukura, Ariki Heihinari's cousin, Kahukura is a thoughtful and beloved leader. Despite her reluctance, a growing number of Taunui clans are advocating for her to succeed Ariki Tewari as the leader of the Taunui people. This growing support has sparked tension among the clans of Rendapulu, with some fearing that her rise to power may lead to civil war. Kahukura's compassion and leadership qualities make her a figure of hope for many, but her hesitation to take the throne puts her supporters in a difficult position. Clan liege Lakan Sidonis. Sidonis is at the heart of the Ilutakami's clan power structure. Though the Ilutakami are governed by a council of 5 sovereign leaders, Sidonis's analytical mind and keen understanding of statecraft make him the de facto decision-maker in most matters. His expertise in managing trade and diplomatic affairs make him a key figure in the region's political landscape, with his influence extending well beyond his own clan. Iklus the Ghost-Marked. Known as the warrior king of Buayang, Iklus is a towering lizardfolk matriarch standing over 8 feet tall. Her ghostly appearance, marked by long-healed scars and cloudy grey eyes, strikes terror into her enemies. Having never lost a battle, Iklus is feared and respected, and her hall is adorned with the skulls of both monsters and vanquished foes as trophies of her unbroken reign. Datu Mangapit. The ruler of Jainai, a Sarangay city on the island of Bokurang, Datu Mangapit is known for his wisdom and peaceful demeanor. Datu Mangapit is known for taking his time with his decisions, preferring to consider all angles before acting, though once he makes up his mind, he is unwavering. His judgment and patience have earned him respect among his people. Tio or Tia. Thought to be the oldest Wayang in the island nation of Inahi, Tio or Tia, depending on the mood of this gender-fluid Wayang, is a living legend, who is said to know every story ever told. It is even said that they once stopped Mount Shibutai from erupting by telling it such an entrancing story that the volcano itself was forced to listen. Tio or Tia is not just a storyteller, but also a wealth of knowledge about Galarian. However, their wisdom comes at a steep price, for each who asks to hear one of their stories must earn the right with a bargain of equal value. Danak the Blood Witch. A half-Menanangal with bat wings, Danak has instilled fear throughout Ataspulu and Tengapulu for nearly a decade. Leading a clan of mixed Tangal women, she and her followers have turned to raiding human and Sarangay settlements, leaving behind a trail of terror marked by acts of horror and cannibalism. Their sharp and stained teeth serve as physical reminders of the danger they pose. The Minatan Gazetteer. Kalibi. Kalibi is the largest and most influential trade city in Ataspulu, situated at the crossroads of the 5 great Ilutakami clans. The bustling markets of Kalibi offer goods from across Tian Xia, including gold, rare commodities, and valuable information. However, one must be prepared to pay the price for such luxuries. Occasionally, a mysterious shop appears floating on the nearby waters, where a woman known only for trading in lost things provides a unique and cryptic service. Pawai Nui. Located atop the steep hills of Lakapuna, Pawai Nui is the fortified city that serves as the seat of the Taunui rulers. This ancient city has withstood many wars, and is considered one of the most secure locations in all of Minata. Known as the City of Totems, Pawai Nui is filled with over 1,000 carved columns that chronicle the city's rich history and the ancestral stories of its families, making it not only a political center, but also a cultural treasure. Waunomani. Waunomani, also known as Silungan, is a fortified city on the island of Belem, home to a diverse population of many ancestries. The city is renowned for its vast fleet of warships, the largest in the Wandering Isles in both size and number. These fleets, while politically neutral, are reserved only for the defense of Minata. Waunomani stands as a symbol of Minatan unity and military might, and its role in protecting the archipelago is of utmost importance. Zhou Also known as the Pirate City, Zhou is a floating settlement formed from the wreckage of numerous ships torn apart by the treacherous reefs surrounding Minata. While the name the Pirate City is often used, it should be noted that Minatans actually have the same word for pirate and foreigner, a fact which perhaps highlights the city's welcoming yet chaotic nature. Zhou is accessible without a guide, and has become a major entry point for foreign merchants and dignitaries. Known for its vibrant trade and nightlife, the city is mobile, though it requires considerable effort to move, making it a unique hub for commerce and culture in the archipelago. Zhou is also a special place of significance in the history of the people of the Inner Sea region as well, as drawn by rumors of the riches to be acquired in the distant pirate haven known as the Shackles. A great pirate armada once set sail for the Inner Sea out of Zhou, and they eventually created the city of Chotsu in the Shackles. Chotsu and the broader Shenshu Bay region are discussed in more detail in my Shackles region deep dive video. This closes out our look at the Huan Peninsula and the Minatan archipelago. Only one more Tian Xia region deep dive remains, covering Nagajor and the Valashmai jungle, coming out very soon.